Let me ask you a question. What do you remember about Cyberpunk? Was it maybe the disastrous launch, the overpromise of hype, or the recovery? Did you ever hear about the recovery? Or was it just you heard the launch, maybe you bought into the hype at the time, and you saw disaster? It was not worth returning to. You got your refund, you walked away, you left that far behind and in the ditch where it should have died. But maybe it comes back. Today we're going to explore that. Well, it's been 5 years, and we should probably answer that question. But we can't just look at the game as it was today. We have to look at the whole story. So let's get started with that, shall we? The year is 2013. The Cyberpunk trailer has shown as it's still in development, or even just honestly being announced that it is being developed. People are hyped. They're treating it almost as like the second coming of Christ for whatever reason. This game could cure cancer. It could perform miracles. It'll be the greatest thing ever. And then we hear silence, which is fine. That just normally means that devs are working on it, and thank goodness that they are. Take your time, do what work you need to do, and don't worry about it. However, because there was no situational updates where it's like, hey, maybe we're, dare I say, halfway through development or anything like that, as a lot of companies will do, they just stay silent until they're relatively confident that they're close to release. Because it was as long as it took, in this case, the total of 7 years of silence, people, especially with that second coming of Christ treatment originally, continued to let their expectations get the better of them. Well, we shouldn't. Humans are very much creatures of hype, and creatures of either over preparing to the point of exaggeration or to the point of failure. So, lo and behold, when, well, 2020 happened, things went off the rails, as we all well know. If you don't know, congratulations, you were born after the pandemic, but we can tell you at the time, it sucked. We were kind of hoping Cyberpunk would release during then, if all things went to plan, to maybe pass the time with some decent video games, because we didn't really have much else to do. Unfortunately, because the pandemic did happen, things should be delayed where they should have been delayed, and if things were not delayed and tried to force through like Cyberpunk was, which was December 2020, what we thought was going to be a very good game, and yes, well overhyped, still probably incredible, came out a shadow of what it should have been. It came out what I would determine to be half-baked at best to even quarter-baked. There was definitely bugs, there was definitely performance issues. It had the whole arrangement. It was not pretty. I don't have gameplay at the time because while I did buy the game on launch, I did not play it. I wanted to wait and see what other people's feedback was. And when we discovered all the technical issues that did happen, and as they were happening, I just left it on ice, hoping that this would be another case of No Man's Sky, where a company keeps their word of, sorry, we goofed, we're going to fix this. Just wait and see. It took 5 years, but with all the patching, and eventually there was a 2.0 patch as well as a DLC that came out pretty much beat for beat. They fixed the vast majority of things. Now, when a game dev typically does a declaration of 2.0, it typically means that there's been some significant overhaul. And holy cow, was there a significant overhaul. In this particular instance for Cyberpunk, it included a multitude of things. In fact, if I pull up the Steam list, as advertised, it was a dangerous new district, dozens of new story quests and gigs, vehicle combat, and mounted weaponry, because apparently that was not in the game before. Revamped police system, combat AI overhaul, endless dynamic events and missions, just to make sure that you could keep playing if you wanted to. You know, didn't have to exclusively stick to story anymore. You can have random events pop up. Redesigned cyberware and perks, which honestly was going to be very needed for what they wanted. Whole new rogue skill tree, which I never even got the chance to play with. I imagine that's part of the DLC. An increased level cap, so you didn't have to strictly be set at, say, level 50. And not be able to complete your tree to the way that you wish. And then a multitude, they say 100 new items, weapons, cyberware, and fashion. For all that matters, yeah, it could be cosmetic in nature. It does impact gameplay too. And unironically, you can make so many new different build styles. It is what a 2.0 should be if you are going to have that kind of precedent. And honestly, a lot more games should have that if they ever claim to want to go to 2.0. I look to Path of Exile for that kind of instance where they, not specifically everything that was listed, but like a fraction of those would be a decimal increase addition. And then if they were going to massively shift the endgame, even if we look at Path of Exile 2, that could be a decimal until done, and then maybe that becomes the 0.0. It's only one way to find out there. But from what I played of Cyberpunk specifically, and I'm going to try and focus on, it was a great time. I would recommend, and even if you are a little bit dubious on it, just wait for it to go on sale. It'll redeem itself, and you don't have to worry about paying full price. Hell, in Canadian as of right now, which is January 1st, because I apparently decided to record over 2 days, you can get this for $28. So, who knows, maybe you'll find a better sale at that point. This is off of Steam, and that was in Canadian, so if you're American, congrats, you're getting it for $20. Have fun. I'm a little jealous. And finally, it comes down to the verdict. What did I think? Well, you already heard me praise it before, so that's kind of a spoiler in itself, but I thoroughly enjoyed my time. I played mostly just core mission. I did dabble off with a couple of side story quest lines, namely the ones that you get at the start where it is boxing / hand-to-hand combat related in the cyber psychosis situation, just because that seemed very fun. Both those storylines were very enjoyable, though it does scale with just how you progress. So there are going to be some cases where you will get your ass handed to you just from the cyber psychos and will need to upgrade your gear. However, that just makes sure that you are actually scaling to the end game, and if not, you better be adapting, or just be very stubborn. Either one of those will fly. That said, from a grand scheme of things, the gameplay was tight, the builds were enjoyable. I went Netrunner, admittedly. I cannot aim to save my life. Do not ask me to play a first-person shooter game. If I'm ever sponsored, I'm sorry. COD, I'm not looking at you. But that's kind of where it was at. The gameplay was tight. The net running was very enjoyable, effective. They had its own sets risks, and even some boss fights that punish the net running if you specifically target things. And that is fine. That is how a boss fight should be, to make sure that it's just not a totally free win. Mostly free is still okay, though. I will say that. And at the same time, I still dabbled with a little hand-to-hand, because apparently I am a sucker for a katana. God, I'm a weeb. Anyways, Gameplay rating. I'm still gonna say it's an 8.5 out of 10. If I ever come back to it, I may bump it up to a 9.5. The 0.5 that I'm really docking on in this case is there were a couple of bugs. One was more annoying, the second one was painfully annoying. If the conditions are met correctly in one of the main story quests, I believe it is with Hellerman, in the Kang Tao situation, there's a chance that the MP4 will loop. In that case, save, exit, enter back in. That should hopefully clear that. The other case, you may have corpses clipped through the floor. If that is the case, you will also need a save reload, and that should reset them and their hitboxes. A couple other funny bugs. Car displacement is a thing, so if you want to enjoy a cop car go flying, you can always run to the end of the map, get forcibly rotated, and if you are rotated with a vehicle beside you or necessarily on top of you, the game will forcibly turn you around and may launch a car. So you can have fun with that one. On the other hand, there is still the chance of a cascading spawn. Unfortunately, I did not capture it or remember what the timestamp was for the clip. However, I had about 4 cars stacked on top of each other at one point, just from spawn cascades. So, again, funny, not necessarily game ruining, but that one is something to keep an eye out for. Anyways, thanks for listening. I don't know why you have at all this point, but thanks for that. So, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and maybe check out the other videos I've done. Hopefully it's not, well, hopefully they're okay enough for you.